of the apartheid regime, this was supposed to be just a Bantu university that is going to comply with the mechanism of Bantu education. And I want to borrow from Maboho More in his book, Looking at Philosophy in Black, and he says, TEFLOP, a black apartheid institution established specifically to cater for certain African ethnic group, Soto, Venda, and Shangani, was one of the 3 African bush universities established by the apartheid regime in 1959 to prepare African graduates who would be ready to enter the Bantustan workforce after the completion of their bachelor's degree. These universities were designed to fulfill 4 goals. Number 1, to legitimate and solidify the idea of separate ethnic and racial groups constituted by the regime. Number 2, to provide personnel, especially white Afrikaners, to administer and support the newly created homelands. Number 3, to maintain and reproduce the subordination and the domination of black people intellectually, socially, and economically. Number 4, to monitor the political activities of the educated blacks and prevent the emergence of communist-inspired subversive ideas. Logically and historically, this was the foundation of what TEFLOP was supposed to be. But you check the event that followed this establishment of this university, that TEFLOP did not accept the status quo. Instead of accepting what the government, the apartheid regime wanted, it then became a center of resistance, in which now when you talk about the germination of black consciousness or the resistance to apartheid, you cannot leave out TEFLOP. One important occasion, just to emphasize on this, is the speech that was later to be known as the TEFLOP testimony by Nkgopotse, and I'm just going to highlight a sentence in the speech where he said, "The day shall come when we shall be free, when every man and woman will breathe the air of freedom, and when that day shall come, no man, no matter how many tanks he has, shall reverse the cause of freedom." And this is related to how, after the establishment of this university, the South African Defense Force had to be present here because because the students and the activists did not necessarily accept how the apartheid regime wanted to turn them into subjects. So without wasting any time, I would like to invite on the podium Dr. Samgezi Morubulangwenya to come and give us the purpose of the day.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Samugezi Murubulangwenya. I am standing here as the acting head of Department of Cultural and Political Studies. I am rising on the protocol that has already been established, but let me just go back again and just greet the VC and Principal Prof. Mkhalong, the DVCs, Professor Madaja and Prof. Mutiba, the university management, the deans, the head of departments, the school directors, the entire university community, academic staff members, students. Welcome to the first of the 5 days when we are celebrating the University of Limpopo. My task is very short, but it is very important. I am giving just a brief overview of why we are here as we all know, all of us sitting here, and you understand that the university is turning and celebrating its 65th year. We are here, this is day 1 of day 5. We're going to be enjoying a week filled with different activities where we'll be reminiscing and having conversation about where the institution comes from. As Dr. Meji has mentioned that, you know, TEFLOP is known in the books of history as a center of resistance. So we will be looking into where the institution truly comes from, looking at prominent figures that had come from this institution, Boyo Diro, Boyo Josephine, and everyone else, and looking into the future and how we continue to contribute to finding solutions for Africa. So I would like to also acknowledge a few people that are here that have joined us that will help us in celebrating the 65-year celebration. And if I could just read all of them so that I don't leave everyone out. We would like to acknowledge and welcome Mr. Pandelane Nolovodwe, the University of Limpopo Chairperson Council, Ms. Ebanzi, Advocate Bongani Bongo, Mr. Ntibedi Tlaubala, Mr. Karabone Sidibe, Mr. Enes Koza, Mr. Musa Zuma, Mr. Didong Kadimeng, Mr. Ramoshifa Chekofazo, Mr. Jafta Libise, Mr. Clemens Silo, Dr. Malisela Silo, Mr. Juri Sibola, Ms. Masheho Nyakalo, Ms. Lynette Malakane, Ms. Komozo Class, Mr. Colin Maange, Dr. Elias Mabena. Colleagues, these are all the alumnus and important people who will be contributing to the conversation as we celebrate the university. I want to say that we are happy that you responded to our clarion call that TEFLOP is calling you home, and you indeed came home to celebrate with us. We look forward to the robust conversations as we understand, you know, the historical grounding of this institution and where we actually want to see this institution going forward into the next 65 years. In that note, please feel free and sit back and contribute to the conversations as we unpack and we understand the history of the institution and we continue to find solutions for Africa. Thank you.
Let's give her another hand. Thank you very much, Doc. I think as she has emphasized, this week is all about looking back and celebrating our heritage. And the lineup is quite important. This is learning from the horse's mouth. These are people that have been through the institutions, these are people that have seen TEFLOP become what it is today. And these are the people that can actually tell us the real history of this institution. Without wasting any time, I would like to welcome Professor Matlomo Khalung to come and give us a lecture on the state of TEFLOP. Let's raise him up with hands, please.
Thank you, Program Director. All protocol observed, but I must acknowledge my boss, the Chair of Council, Uncle Neff, for having made time to be here, and many others who will be welcoming and acknowledging as the days go. You know, TEFLOP is something which, if you get associated with it, you end up being so proud of it, understanding what it is, where it comes from. Mic there. At least switch mine off. So you want to tell me I'm talking what you don't want to hear. And if that is the case, the best way is not to switch off the mic, but to leave the hall, because they said I must come and talk here. Program Director, ladies and gentlemen, a short journey through the University College of the North as it started. This morning I was in my office looking at a picture, how it all started in 1956 when some chiefs were invited from, I think, the rest of South Africa to sit under a tree at our present golf club house to discuss coming up with an institution which, as Major said, would prepare Bantus to go and serve in the Bantu homelands successfully. That resulted in coming up with the University College of the North 1959, which was under the tutelage of the University of South Africa. Went on until it matured to become a University of the North. Went through some time, ups and downs, measures, demeasures, up to where we are today. That's why I say it's a long nostalgic moment. I was looking forward to meeting Kaunda Sidibe, because for his sins, Kaunda was the president in 1974 when we celebrated the Pro-Frelimo rally, and he got arrested. Keketi Makudu and others said we must march to Mankwem police station to demand his release. Young, agitated, energetic, we gathered and we went there. And as we were still trying to negotiate, a huge policeman, white policeman, came out and said, V.S. Cyril Sidibe. Now, that's why I say he must also still explain why he had to go through us, because they wanted him. And then they placed the hand on his shoulder to say, Mr. Sidibe, you are, Mr. Ramaphosa, you are under arrest. And that was the end of Cyril with UL. That's how it happened. Yeah, but as I say, I always tell colleagues that one day we should sit and just talk about these things, and I think this is the week, and it will unfold as time goes. I see a number of people I taught, but nobody ever thought I could have in my class Victor Khomweswana and J.J. Daman. Now, he hasn't changed. What you see on TV today is what I used to face in class. Now, as a young academic, still learning the ropes, he used to toss me around, and I would tell him, Mr. Tabani, can we continue after the class because we have some work to cover? Lo and behold, he will come to my office when I didn't expect him to come. I remember one day looking at me and saying, is this implicit or explicit? Then I looked at him and said, this young man who has to play around with words which I would expect Major to play with today, what's wrong with him? But there he is today. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, University of Limpopo as we see it today. Now, these things don't work when you expect them to work. That's the team which is running it, except for Prof. Singh. Somebody didn't update this. We all know them, the executive deans, CFOs, Dean of Students, Shro, as Prof. Siwea would normally refer to him, Chief of HR, Strategy, Marketing and Communication. So those are the people who are keeping the home fires burning. For my sins, when I took over the university, we had an enrollment of 5,202 students. Today, we're boasting an enrollment of 23, almost 24,000 students. That's the growth the university went through. Online stories. You know, the other day I was fighting with the portfolio committee when they said, why do you want to do things online when you can do them manually and see people voting? And I said to them, no, this time allow me to defy you. I'll continue to make sure we use our digital platforms which will train our students even better. Our registrations are done online, applications online. Today, we're voting for an SRC online. And I was really excited at 10 o'clock to see that over 5,000 students have already voted. If you were doing it online, you'd still be there 610. That's how it works. So these are things we should embrace as we develop this institution. University of Limpopo accommodates even international students, and some of the prominent leaders of Africa went through here. I'm thinking of the president of Zambia, Chakwera. Uncle Neff, you remember, I think we had Jongarero in your SRC. Our graduation statistics, when I graduated my first degree, my BSc, we didn't have postgraduate people graduating. I still remember we had one honorary master's degree in Chivenda. Today, the university is boasting that number of graduates, including postgraduate students. The University of Limpopo, history will always be on some people's side. Majority of the students of the University of Limpopo are using NSFAS. And in the past, it's a long history, it wasn't that good, but today it assists to keep it afloat, and that's why our prayers are that NSFAS should be well on its feet and serve the students. Financially, we are sustainable and viable as an institution. I think there was an article, I can't remember, somewhere, earlier this year or late last year, where we were counted amongst the 10 rich universities in the country. We embrace digital transformation. We have got everything, including this grandmother of a young man from my home village. I'm proud of him. he used this slide where he was showing his grandmother how to use a laptop. And today, he's in charge of security, that young man who got his master's here at the University of Limpopo. He's in charge of security at Standard Bank, the whole of Standard Bank, not your little branch at home. When they suspect fraud, they talk to him. Those are the type of people we produce at the University of Limpopo. Technology Transfer Office, that's all what we're having. And collaborations here with MTN, where they donated a whole communication infrastructure to us. We have got a good health and wellness center to assist our students. And it achieved quite a number of firsts. When COVID was ravaging, we were approved to be vaccination site for COVID. I wonder how many universities are there. The first to be accredited as an ARV site to assist those who are unfortunately running around with the virus to try and keep it under control. We do offer them that kind of assistance. First, to establish a TB management program. I always tell people, if you want to be, there's something they call disease snobbery. That diseases which some big guns had. You say to yourself, but why can't you? Then you go around boasting that you had it. And I always tell them, those who want to boast of having, these days they say, I've got a touch of TB. Former president had it, and he managed to deal with it. The present Vice Chancellor of the University of Limpopo had it, and he managed to deal with it. So, if you want to be associated with the who is who, go around and search for it. You get it. Infrastructure-wise, I hope they will show you a whole presentation on it. This is the spaceship we're putting up for our earth sciences. If you go the other side of Q Block, you'll see they are almost there, and they say, come December, they will give the University of Limpopo the space-of-the-art building completed. That's where they are when working with it. Our skills lab, nutrition, nursing, pharmacy, all those, we have got skills labs which are there. And I always tell people that at UL we pride ourselves in that we only offer programs that are accredited. If a program is not accredited, we will not offer it. And our program qualification mix suite is quite impressive. You look at the health sciences. University of Limpopo was the first to establish an optometry department, training optometrists in the country. And we're still going strong with it. Post-apartheid South Africa, we were the first to start a medical training program. It's there, going strong, growing, and fully accredited. Even, I think, a few months ago, we went through that, and we got full accreditation for it. And even they allowed us, Chair, to increase the intake, because these are sensitive programs. You don't just jump in there and end up messing things up. Accounting program, training chartered accountants, it's also there and accredited. We have got many. our law programs. Men law, where are you? Oh, there's my Dean of Management and Law. To 3 years ago, if you look at the number of judge presidents of the country, 80% of them were products of the University of Limpopo. That's how we do it, and that's what we producing for the country. Those were the skills labs which I was showing you. We've got a water testing laboratory which we put together in collaboration with Capricorn District Municipality. We've got our own water bottling station, purifying the water, bottling it for human consumption. State-of-the-art African languages laboratory. And if you see the number of seats we're having in there, and to show that we are going digital, all those seats, each one of them has a desktop in front of it. We do care for our students. A number of them are staying in shacks, not out of choice, but because we don't have enough accommodation on campus. The University Council decided we should put up a 4,500 student residence. And this beautiful structure is funded by the university to the tune of, is it what, 1.6 billion rands. Whenever I look at this, I say it reminds me of those beautiful singers of IPCC. There's a song where they say, "Are batle loan, re a ikagela." So UL, we saying that we don't need a loan to put up that massive rest for the students, and it will be there soon. Those are some of the residences which are already there. We are extending the library, if you have seen there. You know, the library is the nerve center of an institution. So, our library, and I think this is the second massive extension which I can think of. It used to be that beautiful structure which you see next to ICT building. Then all this face brick structure was an addition to it. Now the university has grown. That's why we're tending to put it up the way it is. A caring university. We do understand that in our communities, we have got many people living with disabilities. So obviously there will be students who live with disabilities. And most of them never had anywhere to go. They struggled to get to matric. After matric, they are lost. I'm happy, Vic, the other day you managed to get Mr. Malachi, and I said, go and search for Mr. Malachi. He was the first blind student at the university. And things were not easy for him. Fortunately, he got support from Roman Catholic Church, and they used to convert his notes into braille. Go into his room, you wouldn't manage, because you know those braille printed things. They come with many pages, huge. But a caring university did that, assisted him. I think now he's a retired lawyer, but still active. Today, we do accommodate them. Fortunately, now the university has got those facilities itself. advanced braille equipment, which we have, the labs where these guys are doing their studies. Those are some of the facilities which we added. And of course, our problems, JJ, with ESCO. We had to put up some form of generation, power generation, so that we don't ground to a halt. Now, the recent one, water. Now people are screaming to say, put up more reservoirs. I say, it doesn't help to put up more reservoirs. What are you going to put in those reservoirs? The municipality doesn't have water to be, or doesn't have the capacity to fill them up, but we're busy doing our best. Top class research done at the university. Some of it, the one which immediately comes to mind is our cathode materials center, research, where we're looking at improving power storage. Batteries for your cell phones, for your laptops, and this is done under the leadership of Professor Mwepe here at the university. Here, just to show that our medical program is still one of the best. We were requested to assist Cuban-trained doctors to get up to speed with what our South African-trained doctors are doing. So they were spending 2 years with us at the end of their Cuban training. And at the end of the 2 years, they were writing a common exam because they were at a number of universities in South Africa. And I'm speaking under correction, but I think twice or thrice, the University of Limpopo Cuban-trained doctors performed better than all the others in the country. So just to show that when it comes to quality, we don't compromise. I think that's where we are. With that, our researchers will from time to time do us proud. I think that's it. Did you load the other? You didn't. You just loaded this one. When am I supposed to finish? You can give me some time to play this. Pilar. 10 minutes. Strict with time. This one I'm not going to talk, it's just a short movie which I want to share with you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the presentation. And I think the presentation does indicate that the university is growing and is very inclusive. The Riahona Disability Center is one of the best in South Africa. And when you walk around the campus, you can see that this is an inclusive space. You see the signs giving students living with disability directions. And in South Africa, this is something to be proud about, because majority of universities are still much ableist institutions, and the UAL is trying by all means to ensure that we are inclusive. We are very inclusive, and we are not just a micro expression of a society. We are ensuring that we transform the society as it were. Without wasting any time, I would like to invite Professor J.J. Tabani for the panel discussion, A Backward Clans Develop is Calling You Home. So this is how we are going to do things. JJ, I'm going to give you the freedom to run the panel. So I want you to come up with, to impose your own style. I want you to come and run. I'll just manage the time, but in terms of running the panel, I would like you to come and take the handles from me, and you take it from here. While we are busy arranging for the panel, could we have some songs from our beautiful choir?
Please give them another round of applause. That was beautiful. Okay, I've been given the difficult task of filling 1 hour of discussion with these wonderful people. Yeah, it's difficult, yeah. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my arrival on this campus in 1989. I know that there was the VC did say some propaganda about what student I was. And he was one of the most difficult lecturers in those days. He used to come to class wearing a lab coat. And he still looks handsome as he looked then. I don't know what he drinks, because this is like 35 years ago, and he still looks exactly as he looked as a lecturer then. I thought I would whisper to him to say, "What are you drinking?" But he triggered me when he talked about the extension of the library. I went to a high school where there was a library. But when I got here in 1989, I discovered that there's an assumption that a lot of students who were in our class never went to any library. And his friend, a fellow called Professor Mashihu, I'll call him by his name, I think I can take that license because he was my relative, gave us his first assignment. Now, in those days, there was something called a transparency. So a lecturer would come with something written on a transparency and project it, not in this sophisticated fashion, but you'd have scribbled something on a transparency, and then you must take all the notes. So the first assignment was meant to be cross-reference from these transparency notes. But because I had gone to a school with a library, I went to the library, beautiful library, big. In fact, as we were walking here, somebody was saying, "Why are we extending the library? Because students don't even come to class, let alone the library." But anyway, that's a different matter altogether. But it was a big library. It had 4 floors. So I went to the library to research, biological science, whatever it was. And then I failed the assignment because he said, "What on earth have you written here? Where are my transparencies?" So I'm puzzled. I said, "No, but I went to the library. I thought the library is there so we can go there and research." And the prof said, "No, but we have researched that whole library. Just write what's in the transparency. Don't be clever." So that was one of my painful moments at first year. 20 years later, I met the same professor, but this time I was on a council of the university, so I was his boss now. And we were placed together in some function. So we happened to be on the same table, but he's still a lecturer, but in another university, but I'm on the council now. So I was wondering, must I remind this fellow that he said he researched the entire library? But I decided, no, let me not be rude. And we just had a pleasant evening. And I said to him, "Hey, I think we need to emphasize on research, If universities can just emphasize on research and have lecturers who understand the value of research." And he said, "Yeah, no, you're 100%. But I didn't remind him that you said to me 35 years ago that you researched an entire 4-story library. And therefore your students should only just regurgitate," and learn that term, regurgitate what's in my transparency. But why am I making a meal of this? I want to ask the panel today. I want to start with our veteran, who's the chairman of the council now, the grandmaster, who's in the chairman of the council now, right? What would you say the university should be known for? This university should be known for. If you look at through the years, right, the university, while a center of academic excellence, and the VC has presented to us how that has even intensified, was also what I could call, it was actually a national key point. I'm sure when they were sitting at planning security of the country, they said, there's this troublesome place called the University of the North, right? Can we just have a plan around how we're gonna deal? Because if we shut this one down, we'd have shut down all the shenanigans of terrorism, because obviously that's how they called, activists at that time. In 1989, when we got here, there was actually a military base here. There's a copy. I don't know, when I'm sitting here, I don't quite geographically remember. There's a copy where literally the soldiers would be there. Right? As you go up and down, you are cognizant of the fact that you are being watched by the military of this country. So the university was known as a pillar. For those who are oppressed, it was a pillar of struggle, it's a beacon of hope to say something can be done to change, right, the lot of the people. And I'm sure when sitting here, you can't imagine how can the army be based on a campus. You can't quite picture that, but I can tell you now, as Victor was making a joke with the young SRC leaders, to say it was a dangerous spot to be on the SRC in those days. It was a dangerous, because you could end up in prison or end up dead. Peter Khomeswana, when I got here, was the Secretary General of the SRC. And he was one of those who, if he stood up in a mass meeting to say, we're striking, we'll strike. Or if he said, we're not striking, we won't strike. That don't be fooled by his humble demeanor now. But he would hold together the mass meeting to go one direction or the other. And the army knew that. So they would say to him, one of the famous things they said to him was, sometimes at night, people are alone. They told him, they said, no, we can see you. You are this guy who's powerful in mass media, but sometimes at night, people are alone. And that he had to decide at that point whether he was going to live or die. Well, he decided to be an activist and leave the living or dying to the Lord. And he's still here. So, Chair, I'm going to start with you. Right? Given what you have seen the university evolve, and you know what it used to be, and how it used to be seen, fast forward to 2024, right? With all that history, what should this place be known for going into the future? I'm going to ask the young student leaders to weigh in and see how they see, this university, being seen. How should it be known for as a center of the future? But what should it be characterized at? You could say it's flippant, but in 1989 when I got here, first of all, it was not my first choice. Let me be frank with you. My first choice was to go to used to be Medunsa. But as the university would have it, Medunsa became University of Limpopo itself in 2005, before the demerger happened. But when I got there, they said, no, your marks are bad. You got to go to the University of Limpopo. And if you pass there, you can come back here. But I failed, so I never came back to Medunsa. But that's a separate matter, and a story I'll tell you later. Chairman, let me give to you.
Oh, the big one. Thank you. Do I call you master of ceremony or what? But the program director. Mine is a very simple thing to do to characterize the university. I will try to use English, which is not my mother tongue, to try to more or less summarize what is in my mind. I can say with no doubt that this university can be characterized as a place where new thinking, politically and otherwise, was germinated. You must remember that during our time, when ANC and the PAC were banned, there was no political activity within the black community. And so when we came together here, there were a lot of debates as to whether we should leave the struggle that was started by the ANC and the PAC, we should just abandon it. And this place called Teflon, started discussions as to whether we should abandon the struggle of our forefathers. And the conclusion arrived at was that we are going to go forward with the struggle. You will see when I link it with what JJ is talking about, this place being now cordoned off by the establishment. Now, the first program director did indicate to you, and he read a section where the white structure, the regime, was describing what this university should be. I'm not going to do it again. You read it. So that was their aim, to subjugate black people. And we came in and said, we are not going to be subjugated. But to do so, it was a very difficult situation indeed, as JJ is putting it. It meant jail. It meant harassment. It meant to be denied even the education you are getting here. But men and women of that nature stood up. That is why this university is characterized the way I'm characterizing. So it was a place where the germination of the new outlook and the thinking which made the whole country to change. You must know that, let me put it something that many of you maybe you have come across. And I like to do this because there are people who think that what happened yesterday must continue to happen today and must continue to happen tomorrow, and therefore it is a vehicle that must stop. And my attitude is that this place started something which grew to something and grew to something, and finally it was something that had grown too much. That is why they came to stop it on their own. See, they knew that it was growing, and they realized that it's growing too much. So during your time, Commission, they decided, no man, this growth can't continue this way. We have to come and make sure that when you go to school, we are there to see what you are learning and what is your tricks. So that's the characterization of this university. It became a center of struggle. Even when the armed struggle then came to be prominent, this university didn't say no. Right? If I were to digress a bit, right? You had people here. I was no longer here, I was in jail that time. I was serving my sentence on Robben Island. But when the system realized that there was a lot of our young generation, right, which I know, like our young generation was coming, they were coming in from the north. Some of them were housed here. If I read the history proper, I was not here, but I know some of them were housed in the dormitories that we have here. And therefore, the system had to come. It had to come. There's no way that the system would have left you to continue with your struggle to overthrow them. Secondly, now let me leave the one, germination of ideas and making the ideas to grow up to the level where the idea of liberation grew to the extent that today we talk about democracy. Well, that's another matter to deal with. I'm not a supporter of this present status quo, so I don't want to belabor that. I don't support what is happening now. But the reality is as follows. When the younger generation of that time, Omkhalo, took over the reins of having to manage this university, right? I was not there. I was not there. They then infused the consciousness that was built during the time of their political and activities at this university. They infused it into self-reliance. These are the concepts we use to preach: self-reliance, managing your own affairs, right? All that. They infused that into the management of this. That's why I like the University of Limpopo, because I can see the character of the leadership of the university coming from the old struggle politics. And therefore they decided that this is our own place. We are going to manage it, and we are going to make it what we want, and we are going to be proud of it. Right? I'm not trying to praise Bomokhalong to that extent, but I'm mentioning a fact. Right? It is a fact. It is what they did. And that is what you see now today as a culmination. Right? I don't think Bomokhalong went around to preach, hey, we come from this school of thinking. We are people of self-reliance. We are people who are proud of black excellence. We are people of this nation. They didn't do that. They just managed the institution to the end, to this end. And that's where I would slightly just leave it for now. As we go along, we can talk a lot of things. But just to digress, because I saw you digressing. When I came to this institution, this is a digression. When I came to this institution, I was admitted at the University of Natal, black section, to become a doctor. Right? I still have that letter, which says, when I passed matric, it says, you must come and become a doctor. But my parents did not have 30 rands, because they said, you must come in with a 30 rand. I don't know whether you can imagine that time. Come with 30 rands, because you can't be admitted until you pay that cash. My parents didn't have. So I happened to be in that quagmire up until my former principal of one high school I went to came to my rescue and said, no, but at TEFLOP they have got some study aid. I will make sure that you go there. And I ended up here. I was not coming here. I would probably have been a doctor or some other things. So let me leave that matter for.
No,
if I see JJ also was, is it you who was not coming here? We were going to.
Yeah, no, I want to make Vincent to become a doctor.
All right, let me leave.
But my matric was too poor.
Let me leave that. That's the characterization that.
No, that story is very interesting. But without digressing, I also wanted to be a doctor, but not a doctor of letters that I am now, a doctor of medicine. But my matric results were too poor. So I was coming here to do what is called BSc pre-medicine, right? In the hands of Bomokhalong and others. But that was not to be, because I failed everything that first year except a course called Special English for Science Students. Now that one you didn't have to go and write anything. But at least when I got home, my father said, hey, at least you passed something. President, before I give to the President of SRC, I wanted just one sentence. Yes, this university was seen as a site of struggle. Could it be seen as a site of economic struggle going forward? And I think maybe that's the question that we need to answer, that the kind of role that this university played in terms of economic struggle, freeing ourselves, being able to deal with the disenfranchising of so many people, struggle, you name it. Fast forward to 2024, can it be seen as focusing on ensuring that we remove the bondages, so if you like, of economic deprivation? Or have we not positioned ourselves at the moment as that kind of, if you like, the next struggle? Maybe you can tackle that for me.
Thanks very much. You're asking very difficult questions. No, but I think I have a gist of what the question entails. I'll try to just simplify it, and you'll just note if that's the right question. Do we really have a role to play in as far as ensuring that we position, I would say, particularly the black majority in the spheres of the economy in the relevant channels? Something along those lines. Now, yeah. Excuse me. Of course, I really do think that the institution is playing a certain role, which is on a day-to-day basis increasing in as far as ensuring that we have the blacks, which is predominantly what categorizes the University of Limpopo as it stands. We position them into being active role players in the economy. I feel like if we are to just compare the institution with the country, the University of Limpopo would be a country like China, because if you look at its past and where it has come to at this stage, we actually realize that there's been a rapid growth in as far as enrollment is concerned, the programs that we offer, and the overall impact that the institution has made in the country. And obviously, when you produce academics, one way or the other, you are ensuring that you have people who are actively participating in the economy and ensuring that the country becomes a better place. So I feel like the University of Limpopo, if you look at its 65 years of history and the role that it has played, it is extremely relevant, and I can't think of any other institution that has managed to position black professionals properly in the economy. If you look at one of the top, not even one, like the top legal pundits, judges, most of them come from this institution. I think even now we are tapping into the field of accounting, audits and the likes. We have a lot of people who are coming from this institution who are performing well in terms of psych examinations. I think the future is really bright. That's why I compare the university with a country like China, because it also has an ugly past. But if you look at how the growth is taking place in that country, you can just categorize that with the institution. The VC was here showing us the development initiatives that are taking place in our institution, and not only in terms of infrastructure, but with regards to just the general academic activities that are taking place. So I feel like we are doing well in as far as ensuring that we position our people properly and they actively participate in the economy of South Africa. I hope I tried to simplify the question and answer it in a simple fashion.
Fantastic. But can you tell me, while you are still on the floor, whether you believe that currently, when we are talking historical facts about, okay, so Ramaphosa studied here or than others, you know, which is a good thing we can be proud of. But also at 2024, right, is this university positioning itself, right, to shape where things are going in this country? In your view, do you think that this university is taken seriously in that light, right? In that it can influence the direction? Because if you look at 74, Frelimo rallies, you name it, 1989, I mean, I think 1990, thereabouts, I think this whole university marched to Pretoria to to dissolve the council, which was appointed by the then regime. And from there was a wave across the country where councils which were illegitimate had to fall, right? So it was not like you're just talking in a corner, but you are actually at the center of national discourse. So I want you to just address me on that. You think we can do more, or are there stuff we are doing now that could actually influence where the rest of the country is going?
Yes, thanks, absolutely. I think there are strides that we are making now. I think mostly in the private sector, if you look at it, when it comes to recruitment of people who are performing well, they are miles ahead. They try to recruit the top achievers and the people who are doing their work diligently. The VC just said here that recently we were regarded as one of the top 10 richest institutions. If you look at our audits, we are performing well. And when you have a public institution like ours, having a CFO or overall management performing well in terms of managing their books and the likes, the private sector, even government to a greater extent, will try to look at individuals doing work in that particular institution and try to recruit them. So in the immediate, we are producing people who are doing their work properly. I mentioned that when it comes to SAICA, we are performing well as well, meaning that we are in the immediate producing top accountants, people who are doing well. I can't speak about other fields, but you know, also with regards to the nursing and the doctors, we are doing well, actively contributing in ensuring that we serve our people. So the University of Limpopo is directly involved, and all these things that are happening that you can see are a testament to that, to say that we are producing qualified graduates who are not only sitting with their qualifications, but are contributing to the overall growth of our economy in the country in general.
No, thank you. Sekedi, please weigh in on that. Do you think that the leadership caliber, right, of the current crop of leaders within the institution and who have left here in the recent past can be counted as amongst the top leaders in the country? And is there something we can do more as this institution to carry on that legacy of producing leaders?
Thank you very much, Professor. But I'm going to do it the old way. I'll start by greeting the vibrant community of the University of Limpopo and observe all protocol. I would also say that it is an honor to be here, to come and learn about the rich history of this institution, as some of us were not here, and so today we are blessed rather with plenty of knowledge, so we will be learning from them. And I would also like to say that it is an honor also for me as a former SRC president. I don't come as a former SRC president only. I also come as a product of transformation in women in leadership, since I was the first lady to preside in SRC as the head. So from what you are asking me, how do we then get to, I'm still opening my notes, I was writing something down. I'm an academia, so I like doing it the old way. So also, okay, how do we get to sustain this? How do we then encourage, first of all, I think also to make my points clear, I would have to tell a story of how did I become the first female president in this campus. And then from there, it will take a direction of from there, where to now. So I think the university on its own, it has been transforming. It is in alignment with the SDG, is it 5, the gender equality. So it is in alignment with that, meaning that the leadership, I think also the Vice Chancellor showed the slide of the structure of the leadership that we have in the university. The Dean of the students is a woman. We have out of 4, we have 2 deans, executive deans, who are women. So with that, I'm trying to show that the university also itself, in managerial position, it's trying to transform itself. Hence, for me to become, it was becoming a new dawn of female leadership, like in transformation sense. So meaning that also the students saw it fit that maybe also in the SRC side, we do need a women representative, of which that's how I got here. And then from how did I get here, moving on, how do we then now encourage the incoming generations to take charge, to participate in this kind of politics? What I would like to say, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say. How do we then encourage young leaders? I'm saying this because I feel like as women, we have to put in extra effort in order for us to be recognized in positions. So I'm speaking from my side. Before I became the president, I was serving as, there is no center in this university that I have not served in. I was participating, I was active. I served at the CAE, I'm doing agriculture, but I also served at ICT as a computer lab assistant. I've served at the counseling, I've served at the housing. So participation, that I was also the chairperson at some point of the School of Agriculture. So all that built up, all that participation, all that activism, it's what led me to being who I was. But something that makes me very emotional, with all that effort put in, what the society sees when you get into office is just, oh, she's a woman. All those credentials, they disregard them. They disregard them, and they just see you, they don't see you for your capacity and your capabilities. They just see you as a gender. And so what I'm trying to say to the upcoming generation, take charge, participate. What I've struggled with mostly was acceptance from the male counterparts, not from the university itself. It tries to enrich us ladies to get where we are supposed to be in terms of leadership positions. So acceptance was one of the challenges that I've faced as a female leader in the institution. Many campaigns were, even the things that I am, the constitution that they're using now, that the VC was talking about, where we transitioned from voting manually to online. I'm the one who I don't want to say who did it, but you get what I'm trying to say. So, but they don't see that. They just see you as a woman. So, to what I really want to say to a girl child, just participate. At the end of the day, you are going to be recognized. And even though you are being recognized, we still continue to fight, because even today, I'm still continuing to fight. I'm still participating. I'm still involved. As we speak now, I'm doing my first year PhD. So it means that also academically, I'm trying to equip myself. But that also are the things that you won't hear from people who won't talk about it. So hence I'm saying, all you will hear from the streets and the acceptance part. Oh, also I forgot, my president here was also part of the people who were anti-women that time. But now, no. Now I think he has transformed. He has grown. No. Now he has grown, and he has transformed, and is even deputized by a lady. So all those things, they show that as a university, we started from a point where there were no female representation until we came, and then also from there we now see, like in student structures, we now see in social structures, we now see in academic structures, female participation. It shows that my presence there, it encouraged and it continues to encourage. And also, it was not only in the institution, because also after that we've seen a wave of SRC president taking form outside the institution, where your University of Mpumalanga, they also had I have a lot to say, because I also want to go into the Josephine Mshova.
All right, shall we leave it there for now? I think that you've made a serious point there in terms of this institution also being seen as being, in a sense, at the center of transformation, transformative leadership, so to speak. And I think that's quite an important issue, because I'm trying to explore to say, yes, we've had the history that we've had, but going forward, what are the other new elements, right, of how we should be seen as an institution? John, if I may ask you to weigh in here. So there's a lot of history about what we have produced, the leaders who have produced in corporates, and I think the last two speakers make many examples of people in being accomplished at the high echelons and also being wealthy, and then if they give a few millions to university, it doesn't sort of unsettle their bank balance. I'm not sure whether you could say the same with a crop of people coming out of here, or those people don't contribute as much. I want to put it as bluntly as that. What, in your view, right, can be done to enhance more alumni being invested in this place, right? And making sure that they sort of plow back in a serious way. Just explore that area for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. And all protocol observed. A lot of the speakers seem to inform and let all of them serve to be the SRC, and they've shared their lived experiences here. Perhaps I can maybe start by giving a brief career demography as to how what led me to here, the University of Limpopo. In 2006, I found myself roaming around the campus here, because there were no lot of signs to show that if you have applied for a certain qualification for where you could go. We were roaming around the hall, we didn't know where to go, and some agents came to our rescue, and then we found ourselves assisted, and what actually happened is that we were subjected to writing assessments. I remember I wrote an assessment under social work, and then unfortunately, I was put on a waiting list. I couldn't wait anymore because a lot of my peers were already registered elsewhere in Mountain. All I wanted to see was to see myself also in Mountain. So to cut the story short, the money that we had, I had to register in some college there in Mountain. I studied for 1 year up to N6. I passed. Fast forward, 6 years later, I applied, and then not an easiest thing. Of course, at least last year we have attended a fundraising program. I think some of the graduates here, alumni, they contributed postgrads. They were registered without paying a cent, without any conditionalities. It's one thing that we are proud of. So, to answer your question would be, when you compare University of Limpopo and UCT and UP, we like a lot of people are not yet ready to give back to the community. I'm not sure whether it's because that our university is rural based, its context as compared to urban universities or not. But what were I think one of the things that was once suggested to say we are trying. I know in the association that I've led now we have new leadership under the capable hands of Director Mabile. They were just elected not so long, and so far they are doing well. Is that we are trying to ensure that we organize writing retreats so that students can get to be published while pursuing their qualification. It is true the lessons are really clear. We have a lot of postgraduate students these days. It's a new trend. They are registering not because maybe they want to pursue, because of the challenges. One of the challenges might be because of the accessibility in the statistics of unemployment. So, but we are trying to make sure that when they live here, the university, when they live here, they are ready to get tackle issues outside, and also to encourage them to say, don't forget where you come from. This is your home. Some of ourselves, we have been here. Sometimes we find myself being here around 16 December. People will say, hey, what is Lehanyani doing here? Because I'm not coming from far, I'm from Mama Wula side. Sometimes when we are doing shopping, we can even come at the university and greet people if they're still there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Do you think the university can do more to involve the alumni?
Yes, Prof, I think what I was trying to say is that now that we see the vibrancy of the current leaders of the alumni and convocation, I think even my chairman is here, President Lugogo. I've seen a lot of programs under his leadership. We are trying to ensure that we get our former leaders to gather, and therefore also what we are trying to do is that we are trying to encourage them to make sure that even those who are leading elsewhere, they can take some of our students for internship, for personal training and development.
Chair, can you round it off for us? Right. What in your view should be the big highlights of this 65th celebration?
Let's say, for instance, now we have alumni here, a lot. They are dressed nicely in their own different fashions. They do look good, you do look good, Prof. But what is the common factor that connects you all as the alumni of University of Limpopo? So band or a brooch pin with the university that can be sold using discriminative prices. So that also the university will also be raising funds, and then at the same time we will be visible, and then also the upcoming female who are still young, they will also be able to be motivated when they see. They will also be motivated to see that okay, this thing is not a taboo, it's doable when they see other women who are from here and they are in different spaces out there. So I think also that will motivate the upcoming ones. At the same time, it will be visibility in terms of the alumni.
Wonderful. Chair, before I go to the audience, your final remark.
Thank you very much. But my final remark is that I envisage a stage where this university will not be mimicking what other universities are doing. It is a fundamental departure point, at least for me as a person. This university finding its niche, its own identity, so that the future must refer to this university. Anybody wants to, there must be something that must come from what I normally say when I talk to the president, the younger generation, not from us. That must come from the That's what I would want us to know. We don't want to be. We want to be ourselves and define the future for ourselves. More so that we come from struggle. That again, let me go back. We come from, and we can see the future of shaping this university and the country through what we went through. So we've got to make sure that as we think ahead, we will be able only to resolve the problem if we are not seen as, if we are not doing what Beth is doing, therefore you are not the person. All that, we've got to run away. And the younger generation which I normally meet, that's what I want them to be doing even as they go ahead with their political activity. So that their politics and their actions must build on what our saying has done. They must build and go further. And to summarize it now is that the university is perhaps they will be able to do so again.
Yes.
During this period of wanting to establish a center. That center will be a center which deals with African issues, as the motto says. Right? That is still just in written form, but it must be actualized. We must be that which we are saying. We are. And that you must have a place where this thing, so that this head must be able to think in a manner which is still
not attached to the old order oppression. Let me leave it there.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. Before I release the panel, I would like to go into the audience. If there's any comment or question, I'll take a few, and then I'll get some of the panelists to answer, and then this will be the end of this session. If I don't see, just alert me, or you can press your microphone. If there's any comment, question, is there someone? Please go ahead.
Greetings. Thanks very much for the opportunity. Well, I have a remark first to the conversation that's currently held regarding necessarily the student politics. So last Friday we hosted a debate under the Debate Society of the institution, a political debate, SRC election debate, and I happened to be the host. So as a result, I've reached a conclusion when I was remunerating my room over the weekend that as the SRC, we've lost necessarily the objective of existence on itself. Why? As a student of history, as I've read the history and the history of the institution, the contemporary student representative leaders have become what we call pragmatical politicians. They are not necessarily guided by any ideology, but if you check, most of them they are in politics because of what we might refer to as political consumerism. They look at the benefits of forming part of the SRC, the iPhones, the suits, the trips that comes with it. But when we have these leaders and sit them down and have a discussion, whenever you should have a fruitful discussion, someone will now start insulting each other. Last week we posed the question that, if these pragmatical problems, let's say water, electricity, security, let's say they get solved next year, what will support the existence as SRC? Because there is no ideology vested in SRC. Majority of them, when you ask, what is lecturers don't know. What is liberalism? Don't know. What is supposed to do liberalism? Don't know. What is neoliberalism? They don't know. What is the market economy of South Africa? They don't know. And yet, when we ask, does the teaching provide answers for the teacher? The answer is yes. But which leaders? The corrupt leaders? The leaders who can think, who can reason. So we need to sit down also as student representative. Today we are electing. When you go outside, they say we give you one plate for one vote. When you sell your vote, do you expect really outcomes? Or do we... and really when you push it to an extent where you sell a plate for a vote, what is it really there to benefit? Because if there was not something to benefit, you wouldn't go to an extent of paying artists 100,000 to come and perform. Then something has to pay that money. What? Thank you.
Okay. Is there another comment?
Thank you. The previous speaker from the floor, we swear about let me start with the anecdotal. 1985, I was a student. My room was MPE 207. I was a fresher. I was a first year student, and during those days, as a first year student, it was very difficult to get a date. It was a mission to get a date. But 4 doors from my room towards the staircase, there was a corner room. It was a double room, and it also doubled as a a recruitment room for underground military activities. And there, that's where we would get lessons. When you join the underground movement at the time, the first thing they will teach you about was military combat work, MCW, and then in terms of theory, they would give you something to read by Maurice Comfort on dialectical materialism. So Temple in 1985, when I came here, it was a liberated zone, because you know, in terms of the theories of the time, particularly the lessons from Vietnam, was that we must liberate the country bit by bit into liberation zone. So Teflon was a liberation zone. Yeah, that's enough in terms of reminiscing and romanticizing the past and feeling good about the past. But the question is, what now? What are the challenges that are facing our country, our communities? Haiti is the first country where the slaves liberated themselves. A very inspiring story. But what remains of Haiti today is a very sad episode. You know, one of the running points of the struggle in the 1980s was for recognition of the SRC. At high school, Crosshouse was leading that struggle. And at tertiary institutions, SRCs were recognized. But when the country got liberated, our value system, our societal value system got completely displaced. SRCs were given budgets by institutions, and those budgets were nothing else but for parties. And if you want to see the zenith of those kind of parties was when South Africa hosted the World Youth Congress. It was a kissing party. It wasn't a congress to discuss matters affecting the youth going forward. Today, South Africa doesn't have money. We don't have the money. The money was just sharp. Get to the issue of the alumni. That alumni, Stellenbosch, they are contributing. Alumni, Alumni, Fortier, all we think of is to buy and display expensive Irish whiskey. That's all it is. So the question now is, what should Temple be? It should be a center of what? It should be a center of where our issues affecting our society, affecting our country, affecting our continent. That's where we should be discussing those issues as to what should be done. We have about 250 municipalities. Only about 30 have a clean audit. The conference of service delivery, it's not happening. So, if we are to be relevant as an institution, that's where those issues need to be addressed. JPV is hitting beyond the roof. Those are the issues that we need to address. So, I agree with my colleague there. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, so I'm going to ask, I don't know, I'll ask one or two people from the panel to respond. I think from those two inputs, there's clearly an issue about political education that we shouldn't take for granted. And I'm wondering whether this is part of what we need to be doing going forward, and not think that we're just going to replicate what happened 30 or even 50 years ago, when political education was sort of automatic because we are in that kind of situation. Right now it's not automatic. We hear of iPhones. I'm not sure. I mean, when we were at SRC, it was not even a cell phone, let alone an iPhone. And so we need to be able to think about how do we regenerate that political education, but in a structured way. Maybe those are some of the things we could think about. Quick responses for a panel as we close. Your parting shots. Let's start over there. Just quick, 1 minute.
Yeah, no, thank you, Prof. I think in terms of political education, this could have been caused by the COVID regulations. So since we came back,
Is your microphone on?
yeah, since we came back to campus, there were more visible in political education. So for him saying that it could be led of something else, but this is something that we should also consider going forward. Like I said, I'm politically curious. I'm not a politician, but maybe my colleagues here can listen better.
All right. Parting shot.
Okay, thank you very much. I was just discussing my today, so when he was saying what I told you, and I'm like, what is
I think that if you listen to what the Premier of Limpopo said in the first presidential sitting, she indicated clearly that our people are not interested in who can articulate what's better. You see all these manifestos that we're making here, conversing with them. These are the views of students. They're not interested in ideology and how well someone is learned or how fast we can finish it. They're interested in their bread and butter issues. If student says to you that I don't have to watch, your manifesto must be fair. That is exactly what we do. I like the question. He said, if these issues are to be fixed in the next coming 2 years, what are you going to talk about? We'll talk about what we have to talk about at 2 years when our present issues will be fixed. Other matters related to iPhones and the likes, I feel like I'm not worth responding to because each and every person who said it, one way or the other, the benefits that are compared to them. All these public rights are in house in parliament. They get business class, all this manner of things. So we can't be blamed for having taken responsibility to assume office that comes to certain benefits. It's like watching football. You can say the ball is taking part of the game. Why you will give that ball? It might be very difficult to use. Thanks.
So please close for us.
Right, in closing, I want to say 2 or 3 statements that might assist the debate that has just been through. There is one revolutionary fellow, for those who were talking revolution, called America Cabral. I think you have come across that. Now, and he articulates what you are saying. But that was not come out. And I'm going just to paraphrase to say, he says, the masses are not fighting for ideas in our heads. They are fighting for something that must feed themselves. If you were to get, this is a paraphrase. He says the masses do not see all these other things that we theorize on. They want to see the quality of their life being improved. And that is why we are not doing it in South Africa. That's the bottom line. So theories and things that we have, they are good because they allow us to go into the right direction. But they are not by themselves, those theories. They are not by themselves the determining factor when it comes to raising the quality of life of your people. So, what we need to be engaged on, even at the university level, is how are we going to make sure that when we say we are free, all of us, we are free, we have democracy. Democracy by itself is just another word that is there. It must be seen in practical terms when it can raise the quality of life of the people we fought for. Anybody who doesn't do that, that's why I was saying, it's another debate in another time, because I don't support the status quo simply because it does not raise the quality of life of black people in this country. It doesn't. And I'm not asking for an opinion. I'm not asking. When I talk that, I don't ask for an opinion. It is fact. It is fact. It is what you see. It is what, when you go around, you carry your eyes properly, you will see that the system under which we are governed in, which we call democracy, we are celebrating, it is not capable at the moment of increasing the quality of life of the ordinary people out there.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to the panel. And we will give the time to MC back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, JJ, and the panelists for such a wonderful discussion. I think I am touched by the chair of the council when he speaks about the misadventures of South African democracy, and I think that's something that's close to my heart. And the question that I like asking people is that, did democracy replace apartheid, or did it replace colonialism, or was apartheid privatized? And I think that's an important question. I mean, it's an important conversation because it's linked to what Morales was saying, that do we have political education in our structures? And if there is no education, how are we as the youth going to be best positioned to respond to the needs of the youth? Another important conversation that we should have consistently as South Africans, that which was raised by one of the speakers here, is that of women disempowerment. South Africa is still much a patriarchal society. And I'm glad women are speaking up, because they must take the responsibility to speak up, because if they don't, patriarchy is still going to reproduce itself. And more importantly, to link to the issue about whether the conversation that are happening in the youth are of good quality or less quality, I think that speaks to the direction that Africa has taken. I think what I hear here is the triumph of neoliberalism and the defeat of Pan-Africanism, because what we see in South Africa and across the continent is that the fundamental values that inform the liberation movement have been curtailed by democracy, because the democracy that we have largely reinforces inequality. The powerful are able to use democratic processes to entrench inequality. And the chair is quite right to emphasize that if we are indeed free, why do we still have so much poverty? Isn't the freedom supposed to inform the sort of life that was supposed to be having? And I think for that, the panel deserves another round of applause. We are going to move with a supersonic speed, but going to the right direction. Without wasting any time, I would like to go to the next panel discussion. Throw forward, getting alumni more engaged, and Mr. Njoko will be leading the panel. In the panel, I would like to invite Professor Rafapa to come to the forum, Mr. Ernest Koza to come to the forum, Mr. Musa Zuma to come to the forum, as well as Tito Ngadimen, who was the president of the SRC in 1982. while they are busy preparing to come to the platform, I would like the choir, the ZCCI and choir, to give us a hint.
one of the best we have in this country in terms of music. Always appreciate you serving us such great music. Without wasting any time, before I do introductions, I'm going to ask, because of the apologies that we received, I'm then going to ask to join us on stage as veterans, Mr. Victor Ometswana, who also serves this university very well. And I'm also going to ask Professor J.J. Tabane to also join us as a panelist under the veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Going to continue from the protocol that has already been established. However, allow me to greet our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mkalom, our DVCs, our Deans, Directors, and Trustees, staff and students. Good afternoon. My name is Nuri Banele, lecturer and program manager at the Temple Graduate School of Leadership, and it is an honor to be here today as a facilitator for this conversation, how to get our alumni more engaged as an institution. And it's an interesting one for me because for me, when I came to the university, I came as a staff member. Given that I've always been, I'm from KZN, I've always studied in KZN, so the assumption was that I'm only going to be here for a year or a couple of years, and then I'm going to leave. But this is it's a place that you fall in love with, easily so. So it gets very interesting to then discuss how to get more alumni, alumni engaged, because for me, as someone who sees himself or so interested in outsider, I thought this would be one of the easiest things, for this institution, given its history. As sort of introductions, good afternoon to the panelists. As sort of introductions, I'm going to ask each and every one of you to just introduce yourself. And when were you here and where are you now? Because that is important to track where our graduates are and what they're doing. And also when were they here? Because that also then speaks a lot about who shaped them and how they shaped them. What was the social political environment at the time and that led to the people that they've become. So just starting from Professor J.J. Tabane, going all the way down.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at how many panelists are here, and your question requires an entire day for us to talk about. I don't want to just summarize and say I was here in 1989. I've already told you my story, I won't repeat it. I was here to do what was called BSc pre-medicine. I failed everything, and then I went home. And my parents said, I think you're not studying because you used to keep being number 1 and number 2 at high school, but when you go to university you fail. So you must go to UNISA so that we can see that you study. So because at UNISA I have to study at home. So I went to register UNISA, I registered BA with UNISA. English, philosophy, Setswana, and linguistics, something like that. From chemistry, physics, maths, bios. You can imagine that I was going to get distinctions now. So I sat at home to study. And because the university opened in February, the university opened in January, so I was already studying for 2 months by the time the university opened here. Then the SRC realized that I'm not coming back. They said, hey, where's this chap? And they sent a delegation to go and fetch me. Please don't ask me how it happened. Professor Matthew, who's in your business school, led the delegation of the SRC to come and fetch me at the home. They said, no, we need this chap on campus. Although I was a victim of what was called Rule A19, which means you fail everything you expect. But the SRC came and fetched me, negotiated with my parents. Don't ask me how that happened. And I came back here, but my parents said, we will release you on condition. You register the same thing you register that you listen. That transition from doing sciences and so on under the columns of this world to doing Setswana, English, philosophy and so on meant that I had enough time to be involved in SRCs while still getting my distinctions. Got my degree and gave it to my parents. It was just that degree, they were the other ones that I was registered. So I gave them, I said, there's your degree of English and philosophy. Can I now go and do what I want? Which I went off to the University of the Western Cape to study law. And the rest is a bit of history. Fast forward to now, I'm doing what I didn't set out to do. And maybe it's because of poor career guidance, I don't know. But while I studied law at the university, I still didn't practice a law, I found it too boring. And then I ended up in communications, for which I have a PhD now. And I'm using that to contribute. I edit 2 magazines, Leadership Magazine and Black Business Quarterly. I've had a few radio and TV shows, and professor at University of Botswana in Media Studies, as well as the University of South Africa, as well as a lecturer at VETS in the area of communications, which was not my original plan. But as they say, we make plans and God laughs. I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing, and in as far as the university is concerned, my trajectory arriving here was shaped by people that I was sitting next to me. But I'm crazy because as I arrived here, I was fascinated by some of the chaos that I saw here because I was from a Catholic school. So you can imagine if you're from a Catholic school in a prefect system and you came to the University of the North where there was an SRC and just, if you like, a lot of chaos, and said, no, I think I'm going to apply to be in the SRC's disciplinary committee. In other words, bring the prefect system into Perth, no matter what. I see that it's the other prefects here. I'm going to apply to be in the, in the disciplinary committee, which I was for 3 years, and I was what was called a clerk of the court, which means that if you did something wrong, I would arrive at your door with a summons and give you the summons and say, please sign here to prove receipt the summons. And when you come to the SRC offices under a different committee, you will find me sitting there taking notes. This is what I did for the first 3 years of me being at Telford. That's why when I finished the first degree, I went to go and do law because I had enough practice for 3 years. And by the way, the disciplinary committee was taken very seriously. It was not the university one, it was the SRC one, but was taken very, very seriously by those students. So, looking back, I think the university has shaped me, shaped my career choices, and shaped the life that I went on to live. So, very grateful, and I would want to contribute to saying how do alumni plow back to this university with all of the things that they gained by being part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. And Mr. Commissioner.
All right, so JJ is my fault because when he came here, I was a lab assistant in zoology and biological science, and he applied to be on the disciplinary committee. It's true, but his student number was 89, which was unheard of. The freshman going to be on a committee, let alone disciplinary. But his handwriting was very clear because we just saw letters. And I said, let's invite him. He writes well, he seems to be orderly. But I didn't know it was him because he was already in my class. He was with David Makura and a few people who were doing biological science then. And when he showed up, he said that this baby face with 8-9 can't be on SRC disciplinary. But he then impressed us in the interview. And the decision had been made whether we appoint him or not. And I suggested we appoint him. But the question was, what if he is part of the state machinery? You know, they write papers, open people. Maybe they launched him, he just come in the first year and SRC. So secretly they said, well, if he goes wrong, it's your fault because you are recommending. But the reason I'm mentioning it is also I came in 1985 to do BSc also. But I did fail everything. I didn't advance in the first year. In 1986 I repeated and still did not advance to the second year. That's how I ended up in education, but I still maintained my natural sciences. And Professor Tremano taught me education in 1987. But my story now goes back to 1986 when the SRC was arrested. If you didn't get arrested, you had to escape. And Lima Tawad, I know those people were here. And I was a class rep in 1986. In fact, on the day that William Francis declared the state of emergency and deployed the army and the police on us, we had decided to boycott a test from in zoology because of mentorship youth, who had a book called Broken Law. It was about 500 pages. And we asked him what the scope of the test was the following day, and he said, the book was green. He said everything between the green cards. He said, but that's 500 pages. He said, well, you are university students. So that's how I became active in student politics, because I said, I'm going to organize my class to not write a test. And it worked. But the very night the police were deployed, and those of us who had anything in our rooms, UDF were arrested and we tasted jail for the first time. But when we came back, there was no SRC. The second half of July, we didn't have SRC. All of 1987, didn't have SRC. The first half of 1988, did not have SRC. So we were now active as faculty, council, reps, and class reps, and we were approached to become the first SRC in the middle of 1988. That's how I got into the SRC. I was not really politically trained or inclined. I come from the village around here. I went to a boys' high school that was isolated from everything. But the reality, the material realities of the university and the lecturers that we had in natural sciences, say for people like Dr. Hello, who was a professor there, we're going to force you to become an activist. It's not something you chose, it was something that was forced on you. But I'll leave it there for now. I served 2 terms. My president was N.S. Kosa. We did 2 terms together, who unfortunately has a family emergency, couldn't show up today. That's why I'm here in his place. And we did another term. But just to mention that when I mentioned to Sekeli and Mama Bolo and the young people now who are in SRC that they're doing SRC work when it's cool to be SRC, I meant it. Because in those days, when you got on SRC, the police visited your parents to ask them if they knew what you were getting up to and if they understood the implications. So, and I mean, it was not a threat because most of those threats ended up materializing. It was almost as if, and I'll say this, it was as if you had never been detained, you were not real. There were people who were never detained, who ended up planting themselves in positions where they would get detained, just so that they were not mistaken for collaborators. It was a very painful thing because that detention wasn't bed of roses. It was torture. It was, well, I was never underground or military trained. So torture for us was not being beaten up. It was just being deprived sleep. So they would come around 11 p.m. and start interrogating until 4 a.m., repeating the same questions and hoping somebody would step up and disclose what you should have. So I'm saying it is all because of that you look at alumni and you wonder, with all the roles that we are playing in society, JJ is what he is, President Ramaphosa where he is, people like Lazarus Chakwera, who's president of Malawi. How could alumni be involved in making this university the citadel of thought, leadership, especially on matters that count when it comes to the country? We were always in the heart of it. Even 2007, we had the ANC conference that changed the course of history of South Africa. And when GNU was being discussed, when Nazareth was happening, I started not feeling my university in the heart of that. And I think, not just politically, science, commerce, and whatever, we should find a way to get involved. But it's about us as a university, and I'm part of the problem, finding the right alumni, creating a platform and space for them to participate, but most of all, not forgetting that we have always been a leader, not a follower.
Thank you, Mr. Thomason. Prof. Rafafa, unlike the two veterans, since you're a professor, I would assume your first year was different from theirs, that you did pass. Because it was common with the veterans that the first 2-3 years, our parents were going to call it wasted.
So let me just tell you something about passing and not passing. Right? So when I finally passed Botany 1, just to give you an idea, I tried to do Botany 2. And there were 3 of us in this class. And a man called Holmes, a very big guy, came in and he said, "Yes, but this class is too big." And then we looked at each other, there's 3 of us, and he says it's too big, and he says, "I can guarantee you I've never seen 100% pass." And then I left and went to Prof. Harun's Zoology. And he continued to say that to 2 people. And the other guy left, and he was left with 1 student, and he continued to say he had never had 100% pass. So I'm just saying, when you hear about passing or failing, look at it in that context.
Thank you. Prof, when did you hear? Which years were you a student of the university?
Thank you. Well, talking of passing or failing, what Mr. Professor has said is what also happened to us. It was a culture inculcated among educators, professors, lecturers, but it was done along racial lines. So you would have the Black Academic Staff Association not saying the things that the white lecturers would say to you in the lecture room. That you can never have 100% pass and so on and so on. But it was more unsmooth than that, passing or failing. It was not only academic competence or your understanding or your coping that made you pass. We challenged tough measures. I took English as a major, and people were saying in English major, first year, you would be around 300. Second semester, less than 50. Second year, first semester, less than 5. Second year, second semester, 302. So we had a taste of that. I joined the university as a student in 1981. And in my first year as a student, because we were in high school at the time, 1976 erupted. So we had imbibed a spirit of resistance spearheaded then by Black consciousness. So it was easy. It was not a question of a new environment, ideologically or politically. Now, 1981, as a first year student, I don't know how it happened, I became an SRC member, which was not easy. We were told you would have to be in the second year or second semester. First semester, I became an SRC member. I was in SRC 1981 to 1982. I became not only a member, but also an executive committee member of the SRC. It stemmed mostly from how you participated during student less meetings. So the students would listen to how you engage with issues, how you actually express yourself in relation to the situation, not theory, not concepts. Then they elected you into the SRC. Then I landed in the executive as a first year student. Not only that, I was made the editor-in-chief of the student newsletter, TEFLAX. The earlier generation know it. Why it was called TEFLAX? The people at the forefront of the struggle, student leadership, those whom the system swept on after the Viva Frelimo rally, Don Jose and those other generations, they said, let us have a newsletter where we shall complete the admin university newsletter spewing propaganda. We shall talk about our national leadership, the consciousness and whatever, and we shall counter the poison and rip it away from the center, although the periphery will end up at the center as a student voice. Okay, fine. 1981, 1982, unfortunately, as editor of the student newsletter, we organized rallies and I had to forage for the photo of Professor Kilo, which was banned. Myself and the SRC president. Because we wanted to publish it on the front cover of the newsletter. Now imagine insisting on publishing a picture of a bent person when the university was not as liberal as it is now. The Azapo headquarters, Ketamtempu, George Woko, and others helped us find the photo of Nkupuse somewhere. A very ugly one, we tried the machines, but we managed to blow it out on the front cover. Then organized rallies, modeling our struggle approach on the struggle approach of our predecessors here in leadership. Viva Frelimo. We knew that when Charles Kota, Cyril, and others got victimized because of that, we were not fearful. We had our rallies also monitored there. On the Tino commemoration, Steve Biko ran, right? But then the TEFLAX got banned because we published banned material. The people didn't know. They tricked you, the doers. Well, I know that the word doers hate language now, hate speech. I'm sorry about that. They said something like distribution not banned, but possession banned. So you would not distribute. So Taumbiwa, the lady and myself strategized that the printers in town in Ivana were delaying our collection of the newsletter deliberately so that Pretoria would ban it before we collected. So we had them, we just took the university card from the student team, the team of students, Prof. Manaka, took the university card and staged a sitting myself and Taumbiwa and said, we are not leaving this place until we have the TEFLAX boxes. Because we knew a penny was coming. We came and distributed them for free across campus. So when they banned distribution, we had distributed. So they would shout out to find you know as a student. Okay, fine. 1981, 1982. Now, failing and passing was something else. You would have results from your professors, your lecturers. They show you the results, you know the assignments, you know the mark you scored. The results go to admin for processing. But there was a tax if you were politically active. Your marks got taxed. So it was not a straightforward thing to pass or fail, especially the major subjects. There was a gentleman here in admin who appeared to be an admin officer, while actually he was an agent of Victoria. I'm not even sure whether it was a robot or a human being, because if you went to register and you were told to go and see Mr. Skellegab and Dustin, you knew that you were banned from the university, you were expelled. Your results are not there, they're going to be given by them, but they are taxed, so they make sure you fail both measures. Because it's easier if they say you are not readmitted because you are affected by the WHO. And there was a semester WHO there. But we passed, they text us, we passed. Even if they text us, we passed. Until they came out clear and just told you are banned. You will never be registered in this university. Okay, fine. So from 1993, I couldn't be registered. We didn't sign or feel entitled to being recognized as struggling heroes or whatever. We knew it happened to our big brothers and big sisters who were also victimized after the Viva Frelimo rally. So it was nothing. We felt nothing. We went home and suffered like everybody else. They chased us and followed us and so on. But well, I'm not going to get deep into the question of how the Alumni can clap back. All I want to mention is, in our day, it wasn't difficult to have the Alumni clap back. Terminology comes in and shifts out. It's a question of vote. The rectors, who were vice chancellors then, didn't use the terminology used now. They said to you, you graduate for community service to the community. First stream income also means as students will come back. But you see, because SRC started always to unify the student body, we made sure that we didn't ideologically alienate any section of the student body. We were held together by consciousness. So it didn't matter if you were SASCO, assassin, a charterist, ideologically, or whatever. That's why then we celebrate every black student who graduated and made it. Remember, there was still separate development. What do you call the law that is a job reservation? So you would do some degrees and you never went, because the jobs that your degree led to were reserved for whites. So you see, for a black graduate of our time to land a job, despite or in spite of the barrage of oppression and repression, we celebrated that and said, black men, you are on your own. Black power, an American concept across the Atlantic, civil rights movement, but it was our rally, slogan, when they showed the students down, black power, black consciousness. So when people like Satiq, who did pharmacy here, were the first to own a pharmacy outlet at the Black Chain in Soweto, we celebrated the whole campus. So you see, from that unit, such a student would never in any way not remember or have a grudge against current SRC leadership or the university. Rights, we include it in our time. Because if I'm an SRC at my store, I wear the colors of the party. Yet I'm in the student government combining the whole student body. and you call a mass meeting, you are there to be partisan. Is anyone going to come who is not affiliated with a political party? So you see, that unity helped. We didn't think ideology, student movement, whatever, and boundaries and all that. So I imagine that the higher trust now between us and the present student leadership has led to a situation where at the time students graduate, they don't feel they've been unified by current SRC leadership because it's EF of command or SASCO or whatever. And some, when they leave, would not very much love to associate again with the same campus. But anyway, I have to eat unconscious. That's who I am, 1981, SRC, 1982, expelled from 1983, had to negotiate with the late Professor Okong. He said he couldn't do anything. Kirsten was still here, he was above him, although he was the rector. He was posted here by Pretoria. So if you are blacklisted, he's the one who had your photo. He said, but one of them has retired. The other one is sick. If he dies and both of them are gone, I shall try and negotiate for readmission. You can register in the university. That's how it happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. What a history. Advocate Bomo, you know, as a young lion, as you are called, is it easier or easier perhaps, you know, for the veterans, you know, to remain connected to the university because of the importance that the university played, you know, as it was a site of resistance? Is it then easier for them as veterans to remain connected to the university compared to the young lions and the younger generation?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me greet the whole protocol as it has been established earlier, particularly the Chair of Council and Prof. Mkhalo. I must say, it's a bit difficult. Prof, somebody is pressing the mic, is it not you? Okay. It is very difficult to talk after these veterans. It's quite enlightening what they are really sharing with us, and it is indeed historic. I personally arrived on campus 1997. So 1997, I registered what we call Ideology, because there was no space in the Faculty of Law at the time. I was dealing with late registration processes. So for 1997, I did Ideology. I'm sure it was also the easiest at the time because like JJ, we came from Christian schools. But 98, I then changed. But I did pass all the courses of Ideology. In 98, I changed to do what we call LLB. It was a new program. Fortunately, everyone was there, had to convert. Those who were doing BProc had to also convert to do LLB degree. So, passing or not passing, I think I finished it on record time. So, it means I was passing, properly passing. But I was co-opted, just like Prof says, I was co-opted into the SRC second semester of my first year. Then I started working in the office of the Treasurer General. I was the one collecting the monies for this, for films, the new cinema hall. So I was working from the Treasurer's office. But the following year, I was then properly elected into SRC. I led housing and safety and security. So I was in the SRC the whole time I was on campus until I was, at some point I was Secretary General, at some point I
I was the president of the SRC. And then I've also served on campus during the very, I think, volatile situation in the history of the campus facilitator. I think that's what connected us more to the campus, because at the time when student leadership, it was a time there was a report that this campus must shut down. So government had decided that this campus must now shut down. It's a waste of resources, and so we're in that cohort, that leadership that had to go to Pretoria again to go and fight and march against government. I think the minister was Professor Categorizing, was saying this, there's no use. Then when we marched in Pretoria, we came back, then they told us that, or the another suggestion was that, no, we must merge with University of Venda to make one university. We also rejected. But then the final intervention was that the university will not shut down, and then the recommendation because they sent an assessor, Professor Nhlapa. Those were the recommendation of Prof. Nhlapa. So what we managed to win as the leadership then was to get an administrator. I think the ANC leadership at the time accepted our proposal. We got an administrator, which was Professor Fitzgerald, who came in. And it was at that time that both as student leadership and the community of the university had to take responsibility in terms of building this institution. And we took that responsibility collectively. And at the time, I think I was now the president of the SRC when I had convinced everyone in the university, both students and the staff, because at the time, the staff had over 6 unions and so on, so we had to collapse all that. When I was president, then I then requested the university community that there is one young scientist called Professor Mkhalo. I think he can take this university forward, and almost everyone agreed. But it was at the time I had to go. So I studied, I did finish the law, that is why they call me Advocate Bongo. I did not practice the law, but I did my articles and so on. I think what discouraged me, unlike JJ says he found it boring. I was representing one client in Groblersdal sometime. I was working for Legal Aid Board. So this client was a young guy, so the case was Haysbrug. So it's a housebreaking. So I say to this guy, no, we will have to plead guilty because actually everything shows that you did this thing. I can quickly do section 112 of the Criminal Procedure Act and mitigate, get sentence outside. The chap said no. So all the ballastics left to Pretoria and then they came back after 6 months. So every evidence shows that the chap is the one, everything matches. So I asked him if we'll have to do 112 of the Criminal Procedure Act, which is a plea of guilt. He said, no, I want not guilt. He said, but look, everything shows that you are the one who did this thing. Then the chap says, so who's responsible for this if you are saying you're not? He said, I'm also asking you the same question. Then I realized that I must do other things. But I worked also as a senior legal advisor in the Mpumalanga provincial government, I'm sure for 14 years. Then I went to parliament, and I'm also a member of council. I think one of the longest serving members of council of this university. So we are trying to assist both the management now on what you see outside, what Prof. Mkhalong was projecting here. there was an attempt also to expel us as we're fighting with Categorizing and others, but Prof. Mkhalung managed to mitigate that matter, and we actually found not guilty, and then we managed to finish all our degrees. But we take pride in being part of this university because it has almost taught us everything. As for me, what it did not give me was a wife. It was a majority of our peers, they also got wives on campus. So I think that's what was not given. So I think I will not speak as JJ and the veterans have spoken, because we can see 1997 is another category of students, but the role we have played, it was quite big. I think that was a defining moment. We're part of this thing during the defining moment of this institution, so we had to pull it through to be where it is. So my prayer every day is that we must not go back to that situation in this institution. As long as we are alive, we must not get back. The president of the SRC says it's like China. I think it's a great example that he has made. So we need to make sure that also collectively, alumni, student community, and the entire community, we protect the legacy that has been built. I think it was not only built, it was built out of sweat and hard work. And to an extent, you hear the veterans speaking about we never had a chance to interact. But when I was president of Convocation, we tried our best also to reconnect with all these generations. That is why we also went to Namibia to bury somebody who was very close to Ngopotsetiro. Was our first international student was from Namibia, Stephanus Holayat. So he used to live with Tiro in the room. So the Namibians, they also are very proud and happy that there's this institution and we still respect them. So I think facilitator can end there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Bong. I think that there really is a challenge with connecting with the alumni and the convocation. And the reason I say this is because I'm going to expose Mr. Nkadimeng. Him and I have known each other socially for years, and I'm surprised that he is Mr. Nkadimeng, because I only know him as Jackie, and he also only knows me as Banele. And that should not be the case. If you're the chairperson of the Limpopo chapter, regardless of how me knowing you socially, but it should also be known that you're the chairperson of our alumni and convocation. But allow me to call you Jackie, because it's going to be difficult for me to say Mr. Nkadimeng all the time, because So Mr. Nkadimeng, as a way of introduction, why is it so, from your perspective as the current chairperson, why is it difficult for you, for the convocation to connect, or for the institution to connect with the alumni and convocation and the current students? And of course, when were you here?
Thank you very much, facilitator. Normally, when we get a chance to call one another Ngo and Jay, there's usually a DJ on the platform. There's music, so the setting is different today. I'm Mr. Koko Jacob Nkadimeng, the current chairperson of the Limpopo Chapter Alumni Convocation Association. And I must say, I feel very much honored to speak after the latter speakers who indicated a very rich lineage they have with our alma mater up to date. And we are in the presence of the likes of Prof. JJ Tabani, who I always take time, I think it's Wednesdays, to look at his show. That, I think the show goes by the name Speak Truth to Power. And most of the time before the show starts, you know, there are clips of him in a burst of rage, unhappy with the state of affairs in our country. And, you know, he likes saying it's bad. You know? So after the rich credentials and accolades shared by the veterans and one questionable character here who's in the wrong category of the young lions, Advocate Bongo. I think I'm very much honored to speak, but please, Mr. Professor JJ, don't think I'm imposing myself where I do not fit, because on Tuesday you'll be saying, la itsine ke le teflo ko batho ba bang ga bana ditlhong wa te bona gore ha le ka le mara wa bua. Hopefully I can be pardoned for such, but in line with how the panelists started their introductions, I think they gave a brief background of who they are and where they come from. And I think, just to say it's a background, I think some are full hesitations of who they are, so I'll just be brief. I come from a humble background in the Sikukune land, in a village called Amarishane. I studied my primary education there, and then I studied my secondary education in Krogasdal, and then when I concluded that, I chose the University of Limpopo as my home of tertiary education. And you know, to my surprise, I've never really left these three gates of our institution. I think I can proudly say I'm a proud product of these three gates, born, bred and battered within the mountains of Sovenga. Now, going to what the facilitator has highlighted, that how do we get alumni more involved in alumni work. I think we have from the past had several programs that seek to reconnect our alumni with the institution. We did a few activities last year and the year before that, because we started working with President Bongo upon his election as the president of alumni, and some of us were not even serving in the alumni structures, we were just volunteering. And through that work, we intensively worked with data capturing, getting information about our alumni, where are they situated, where are they located, and how can we bring them back to our institution to strengthen and foster relations, you know, and get continued support. And also make sure that those who are more privileged than some of us are able to come to our institution and offer philanthropic support to our institution, because I think all of us here gathered in this venue today, we all share the same characteristics when it comes to our upbringing. Most of us are from humble beginnings. We had to come to the institution through intervention. Some cows were sold, land was sold, people went to early pensions, relatives were asked for money. Some parents are no longer talking to one another today because the last time they spoke, our parents were asking for money for us to register, and they never had the means to take it back to where it belongs. So there's also family feuds because of that. Now, our role as alumni and convocation is to understand the journey that it takes for one to become a graduate of the institution called the University of Limpopo. I like telling people that, look, you know, if you are able to endure 4 years of study, 5 years of study, and even pursue postgraduate education in the University of Limpopo, then it means you are most likely able to make it anywhere in the world, because the conditions in the University of Limpopo, from when we started to date, I think to date they're a bit better, but when I started, they were a bit difficult because many of our students were challenged and faced with the issues of hunger, inadequate studying facilities. They didn't have enough resources to get themselves the necessary academic equipment or resources they needed to pursue their studies. And I think it is the role of alumni to ensure that those that come after us, at least they find it better. So there's a lot of initiatives that we established that ensure that there is continued relations between our alumni and our alma mater. And we still need support from everyone, members of the university community, our graduates who occupy positions of importance in strategic industries. I was in one seminar the other time indicating to them that it is their role to influence the funding policies of those companies that they lead, to look into previously disadvantaged institutions such as the University of Limpopo. When they establish bursary schemes, they should ensure that at least they influence decisions to cater for institutions such as the University of Limpopo. Because I think it's quite much of an injustice to proudly say, when you are given a podium, to say, well, I hold a degree in economics, I hold a master's in law from the University of Limpopo, but not care about those that you left behind. And where we are quite understanding of the circumstances that most of our students find themselves under. And on Saturday, we were having an alumni fun day. The sole purpose of the event was for us to network and also to continue having communication amongst our alumni in the institution. And one person came to me and he said, you know, Chairman, there's quite a lot of things that we were not told when we were busy pursuing our degrees. Getting the degree is quite easy, though it has challenges, but the biggest challenge is us having to adapt to the requirements of the workspace because we're not prepared for what awaits us there. Now, you will find a situation whereby a person is ready to find a degree, they get a degree, now there's a job advert there. One of the key fundamental requirements for them to qualify is a license, something unrelated to a degree. Now, this person is overlooked because this person graduated, but there were no resources for them to also acquire something that will assist them, a license, a mere license. Now, the person was telling us about the initiatives. So, Chair, we need to establish an initiative that also assists graduates, people who are doing final year, to also get licenses assisted by the university or subsidized by the university and a local community driving school, so that when we do our final year, we are also able to get assisted and get a license, and then when we go there, we are equipped with what is required of us. Another challenge being the Chair, you know that we are able to graduate, but the brutalities that await us at home are more severe than the ones that we experience on campus. Because there will be that one drunk uncle who says to you, "Oh, graduate, you are done. Now, where's bread in the bread bin? Because we thought after graduating you will assist us." And they don't know that the challenge now becomes more because there are some people who have to choose between an interview and 200 for an interview and 200 for feeding the family. Now, this person sees a job opportunity, wants to attend the interview and avail themselves, submit their resume, they are called for the interview. But because the interview is in Gauteng, this person cannot mobilize 500 to go to Gauteng and perhaps maybe get an opportunity. So one of the things that we discussed was that, look, as alumni, we need to reach out to people who can help us and have a pocket dedicated strictly to graduates who have been invited to interview opportunities. We'll vet the process, do due diligence, check whether the interview does exist, and perhaps offer as little as 500 rands, for these people to go to interview, see if they can prove to us. So just imagine if we're able to help at least 200 graduates per annum, 20 of them get those job opportunities. We could have done something, because it's always us sitting here sharing ideas. Our ideas are very brilliant, but implementation is some of the challenges that we have. So I think in as much as we reach out to current and I think alumnus of JJ's generation and Victor's generation and Prof's generation, they will be able to help us because they've knocked on doors that are very difficult for us to open, and they already know what's on the other side of those doors. So by them giving us a little help and assisting our alma mater will get us a bit somewhere. Now, I think that's all that I can say for now.
Thank you, Mr. Nkadime. The goal 6 of the university is to improve the university's overall branding, communication, partnerships, and diversity. And I think that is one goal that our alumni and convocation can really contributes in, because alumni and convocations, main role, from my point of view, is to be ambassadors of the institution. But Mr. Komiswana, do you think that one of the challenges with the communication and getting alumni involved is that we've reduced convocation alumni to just funding, instead of looking at the broader picture of alumni's role, which is, they should be assisting us with student recruitment. Alumni should be the one assisting us with getting placement for our students, for vocational work, for internships.
That is possible. To a certain extent, yes, because people who have money will tell you money is not everything, and it's true. Once you have a bit of money, you realize it's not everything, because it can't buy it. Therefore, if you reduce everything to funding, you fail to see the real value. Money follows something, and if that money follows something good, it will follow consistently. JJ here is a good example of that involvement, active involvement of alumni. And I hope my children don't find me embarrassing them. Very simple. All right? So this young man behind the camera, Kelezo, please stand up. Kelezo, stand up. Kelezo, there are 10 of these kids right now working in the marketing department. And they're here because JJ has a company called Squilly Media, and he got approached by, or maybe he approached the MICT SETA, and they were looking to place students who are studying marketing at TVET colleges. And he approached us to be the host employer. Now, that's not funding, but it is funding, because it's allowed us to get 10 young people, very ambitious, and I'm lucky because I'm a teacher, so I work very well with young people who are still learning. And they have been part of this marketing department for the past 12 months. Most people don't even know that they are interns, because some of them, even the reception in marketing, when you get there, there's never been in the past 12 months anybody other than an intern. And those interns came from Bushbuckridge, some from Palaboro. They're here because of JJ's company. Now, he didn't put any money of his own. He didn't put any money of his own, but he put his networks to use. And often networks have more value, because once the networks open the doors, you can make the money yourself. And of course, I've had to go to the Vice Chancellor because the MICT SETA said 12 months, but TVET colleges require 18 months. But for the past 12 months, I've benefited from 10 young people, very energetic. On Sunday, as part of the celebrations, we have a golf day. That golf day is not funded by the university. It's funded by Shine Bright Entertainment and Mashalela Attorneys. And they have gone out again, unlocked their networks, gone to, and now it has not even been, it's moved to Euphoria now. Again, efforts of another alumnus. So we were going to have it at our 9-hole golf course, but Prof. Mategula, who plays golf, also another alumnus of the university, said, how do you bring alumni from all over to play golf at this tournament when you know some of them will be in Gauteng? I can talk to Euphoria. And he went to Euphoria. Again, Euphoria is not charging us anything. We would not have got Euphoria as a golf course to host a golf tournament. It's a very prestigious golf course. So I'm just showing that if on a daily basis, Limpopo here himself is not able to blow his own horn, but he's doing a lot for the university, including giving young people an opportunity to work at his business outside. So my point is this: the networks which define not who you know, I'm quoting my friend Terry Galafeng, networks don't define people you know. Often they define people who know you. And now if you are here at the university and nobody knows you, you need somebody who knows you to connect you to the people who know them. It's a very good involvement. But let me say this, even more important, and I'm here talking to my professors, the executive deans,
there is so much opportunity that whenever you bring alumni to talk to students, to hold lectures like we did with Dr. Dan Matsapura, who wasn't here for 51 years. He came for the first time back to the university in 51 years, and he said it in the presence of the Vice Chancellor, that he's willing to come on a quarterly basis, to lend his expertise, to bring his knowledge, and enable us to connect our students. You connect the people, they will fly. Thank you.
Thank you. We boast, but the graduates of this university, we have a number of them who are members of parliament. We have a number of them in cabinet. We have a number of them who are executives in big corporates. But again, how do we then get them involved? So my question to you, JJ, is that, as a professor in communications, we have, here, in this hall right now, young people who are soon going to be joining the alumni and convocation. What type of communication and messaging as an institution we should be pushing to get them, to get their attention and to keep them, involved in our university?
Yeah, that's a thesis question. I think somebody must actually do a master's thesis on that question. But let me tell you something. I'm an alumni of a number of universities. UNISA, although I studied there for two months, I think I'm still an alumni. Once you register down to your student number, and my late mother had 2 degrees from UNISA, so I lay a claim to UNISA. Right? Then there is University of the Western Cape. I was president of SRC there for 2 terms. So they believe they own me, right? And I have affinity to them. I studied at Nelson Mandela University, and then I did my PhD at VETS. So on any given cycle of correspondence, I receive, you can imagine, I receive invitations to this convocation meeting, that of 5 universities. So which one am I going to go to? I don't actually think I've been to one of the University of Limpopo. Interestingly, right? Because like Victor was saying, your contribution is not just those meetings. The problem with not just the University of Limpopo, but all these universities, is that they reduce the alumni or convocation into a meeting. So come and vote for the president of convocations once a year, then you receive, oh, please vote. You don't even know who these people are, you must vote. There's somebody who was an alumni in 1960. I've never met the guy, and then I say I must vote. This is the president of convocation. Now, until we depart from that narrow definition of how to involve alumni, we are not going to get them involved. If you just calculate how many alumni are there for 65 years, I mean, those people will fill a FNB stadium or more, right? So poor contribution of alumni is not an excuse, or rather you think it's not fathomable, because there are so many. If you multiply all the student bodies for 65, it's a big number of people, right? Which means you can't organize them in the same way. If you call a meeting where the alumni of the who are 70, I mean, Professor Mokhalong, though he doesn't look it, he's 70, right? So if you call him into a meeting to say it's a reunion, and there is sitting with people who are 25, who graduated 3 months, I'm not sure what they are going to discuss. Because this one is going to be talking about some very bizarre thing that happened in 1950. And then you are talking about Amapiano, which happened. Then that meeting is not interesting, right? Because you just lump everybody into one meeting, and you expect them to all pitch up and feel happy to reminisce or whatever. That doesn't crack it. So here's my suggestion. Right? We need to analyze who are these alumni and divide them into proper categories. I'm not saying don't integrate the generations, right? But on an ongoing basis, you need to be able to appeal to certain groups of alumni with particular things you are going to ask them to gather around.
right? In other words, do things for the alumni and so on. That will add value to those alumni. But you can't do that unless you know who these people are. So you must categorize them, right? Maybe there are alumni who are lawyers. I'm just making the example of a category, right? And instead of mobilizing to say, there will be an alumni meeting in the Gauteng, come one, come all, you say no, there will be an alumni meeting of legal students. And we're asking the Chief Justice to come and address those people. Now, we are not talking about, come here, we're going to tell you about Limpopo and then we're building a new building. No. We're inviting you. You are an alumni of law, and we're adding value to you as a lawyer by inviting the Chief Justice to come and talk to you. Once they are gathered like this, then you come and present to them and say, oh, by the way, the reason you are here is because you are alumni of the university. Let's tell you what's happening at the university, just before the Chief Justice speaks to you. Now that's classical approach to marketing, which is you are segmenting your audience. You are bringing them so that they believe you are going to add value to them. And once you add value to them, they'll add value to you. So that's my humble suggestion, that let's try and categorize the alumni and then do things that are useful for them in what their current roles are. And then in the process, we can mobilize them. Then you say to them, oh, by the way, your law faculty where you graduated is falling apart. You know, it just requires an overhead project. I'm just giving you an example. And somebody there owns a company that manufactures the damn things. And they just tell you, no, we'll donate the overhead projector. But they will not have come to that meeting. If you just call them and said, come one, come all, it's an alumni AGM. Half the time they don't come to those things because they think in between going to a business seminar that will generate a deal for you and going to spend a Saturday in a convocation meeting for which I'm not sure why I'm going there. This is what we need to. We need to be able to be aware that loyal as those people are, they have many competing things that they are doing. Others may even have more than 5 universities which are alumni, so that they now have to choose between the correspondence and what is more interesting. So to attract them, I repeat, categorize the alumni into different groups, and then start thinking of programs that can interest that group, as opposed to interest them as just a general label called alumni of the University of Limpopo. Right? And I hope that could go a long way in doing that. I'm happy to mobilize alumni who are interested in communications. I'm sure there are, although when I was here, there wasn't such a course which I could have joined happily at that point. But I think now it's there. We can mobilize them to be interested in that area, right? And while we are adding value to them, we get them to add value to us. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that deserves the response deserves a round of applause. Mr. Nkadimeng, as the current chair, of alumni and convocation in the Limpopo chapter, what Prof. JJ just said, that we need to find ways, of interesting the different generations, different groups. What are some of the activities that you're currently, engaged in as convocation to interest, the different, because we have a very diverse group of alumni in convocation, and very correct. Not everyone's going to be interested in the same thing. And also, so what are you doing, and also what is it that the university can do, to support you to better?
Thank you very much, Facilitator. In line with what Prof. JJ has submitted here, I think the Register of the University is here. He can give testimony to some of the alumni work we embarked on, and we are still going to embark on. I think because today is just a panel, and we are here under the theme getting alumni more engaged. We could have got more time to show you some of the alumni work we engaged in. I mean, he gave a submission that we should categorize our alumni when we do alumni outreachment program, trying to recruit our alumni. So some of the programs we did in Bakwan, I think one was last year, we organized the generation of 1970, Prof. We had dinner with Prof. Popitiwanwons, Mutuaris, we had a delegation from Namibia. We also had some of our senior citizens who are alumni. Most of them I can't recall because they are not of my generation, but Mama Plaji was the one who was assisting us to host them. We do have dinners by Park-In. I think annually we do host 3 of them with alumni of different generations. And we also established sectors. We launched the pharmacy sector, we launched the disability sector, we launched the social work sector, we are still left with the law sector. Yes, the law sector and other sectors that we are still going to launch. So we have covered vast ground in terms of work done, and there's still a lot that needs to be done. Now, I think one of the challenges we have in terms of getting people to assist alumni, I think it's a matter of transparency, showing them what we get to do with the resources we get from them. I mean, last year we were at Galaga Midrand, and I think everyone was happy because our efforts were even shown by various media houses that were able to fundraise 8.6 million. And that was it, 8.6 million fundraised. And then what happens to the money? Who are the beneficiaries of the money? Who are people who can come here and give testimony of having been recipients of such fundraising initiatives? So I think that's an area that we would have to improve in terms of sharing more information and more programs to showcase alumni work. And we also need to have some alumni who can give testimony to the works that we have done. Now, some of our programs in alumni include Adopt and Mentor a Student, and of which we do very well. And that Victor has highlighted that we are in collaboration with Shine Bright. It is an initiative of the Limpopo chapter alumni to bring Shine Bright on board, and through that we're able to place more than 10 students for job placement opportunities. And I also encourage students to do what we call vocational work. When they are on holidays, I have people that I've partnered with. We recruit students who are graduates or some who are still undergraduates to do some vocational work. Some are placed in our partners' establishments such as restaurants. I've one there, and I think on weekends I assist almost 15 students to 10 who do weekend duties, and then we compensate them fairly so that we are able to assist them with some of the challenges they face. So there's quite a lot of work that we have done as alumni. We also offer mentoring opportunities to them, and most of them I think may not be quite aware, because I think that's where we lack in terms of having an outreachment program that reaches the entire university community and the entire community of alumni. Thank you very much for sitting.
Thank you, and thank you to all our panelists and the University alumni, for keeping, in touch with the university, and also for being. I'm still the facilitator. You can't switch me off. Yeah, and for being the ambassadors of the university, and as I said, it goes a long way. The fact that wherever you are, it comes first that you are a graduate of this great institution, and then the indirect benefit that comes from that is highly appreciated. I'm going to open for just a few questions to our alumni, to the audience. Any questions or comments to the panelists? Okay, Prof. Masha.
Thanks, and it is first. It is very clear, but it's not clear.
Thanks, the facilitator. In line with the early discussion, which ended up with some of the recommendations of a center of an African institute and the thinking. And that we don't want to be vets, we don't want to be UCT. Around alumni, the thinking which is based on a pre-colonial system around Central Africa of the legal people, LEGA, legal people. They had a concept of Wami based on Busuha. We wanted to have a very constructive concept of mentorship. And we don't want to use mentorship. We want to move away from mentorship as a concept to validity as a concept. Validity because the concept of Wami, which is based on that pre-colonial system of the legal people around Central Africa, where different how do I put this? You see, the economy, when you have the skills of economy, when we have our people who are graduating from that era, or from that, not era, from those skills, then by these people, they will continue to share those skills, the way Prof is putting it, in that area. And we want to perfect that as University of Limpopo. So those people who have gone through a particular set of skills, then we have a very powerful concept that is based in Africa, which will then be used to lead and to even be leading this thing, what do you call this? The funding is more like the support that is forever. From graduating there, your first degree, to all the way to PhD and beyond, and being supported from that concept. Then we are no longer talking about the once-off funding. We're talking about the ways of life, which is Busuk. Then we are doing something that is totally different. We're talking about something that is sustainable. And this by the way, is our president, Permanent. We're going to be doing something that is very different, that is African in orientation, that is forever. And I wish someday we will talk about it even more, because the time is not sufficient here.
Thank you, Prof. You see, that's a problem of giving professors a platform. They listen to all your time. With that said, thank you, Prof. Masha, and thank you to my panelists, and thank you to our audience. And you know, she's a former SFC, so she'll engage. You know, she's now an alumni member, so she will be able to engage with the panelists outside of the hall. But yeah, again, just to say, to encourage our students that, you know, when you graduate, stay connected to the institution, join the alumni chapter where you are, and be active, be involved
in the discussions that the university is having, be influential in shaping, the future of this institution, because, you are the future of this country, and then you should be able to shape institutions that, that are producing the leaders of the next South Africa. Thank you, and thank you for giving us an extra 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm back again. I think this was an organic conversation. I need not to distill it or digest it, but it shows that when the past and the future, when the past, the present, and the future meet, it is always going to be tense. And I think this is just a practical example of how we are trying to bridge these generational gaps. So without wasting any time, I would like to ask Victor Komietswana to come and give us a direction on how we are going to distribute the gifts that we have for our guests.
Thank you. There will be an additional gift, and the clue is visual for people who were part of the panel, but unfortunately there are some logistical delays. So if you were on the panel, we would like to, there's something else over and above this that will be coming your way. Those who will still be here tomorrow or during the week will get that. Those like JJ who might not be, will have it delivered to them. But it's just to thank, first of all, the panel members. All the panel members, maybe if they could just be on stage for us so that we expedite the handy. I'm going to need one or two. Where are those interns now? They have disappeared again. Get your mates. Those who helped you to bring the gifts here, can you get them? Are they still around? Yes, please just quickly get them. But if you're on a panel, please come on stage so that we don't have to call you one by one. So Advocate Bongo, JJ, everybody who was on a panel, including the first one, the Grandmasters and the cadets. So Sekedi, I'm talking to you. Chairperson, I'm talking to you. Modi, I'm talking to you because you facilitated. All right, the Prof. Rafapa, please just line up. We can even take a picture, I suppose. Yeah, if they can be on my left or your right, but left of the podium, please. Just line up there according to, there's no particular order, but I know that the name tags are not always that good looking in pictures. Yeah. They never work in a picture. Okay, we need a picture though, so please don't. Thank you very much for sharing your early 80s, very transitional period. Okay, let's get them in position first, and then we can. Okay, Dr. Robulangwenya, you were on the program as well, so please maybe join us. All right, can somebody help arrange them? They are not. Just look at their height, you'll know. Okay, maybe you come this side. Yeah, just wait. Let's get them in position, and then the bags will come through, because it's the easiest part. All right, the people are insisting. All right, I'll go and stand there also for the group picture. But the idea is just to give some token of appreciation, please, for joining us. So please
go to the extreme, start with Mr. Nkadime, and then follow. That's with Jumelo Ketani. She's in our alumni office for a very long time. All right? She will just guide us because she knows everybody, or almost everybody. Okay, she's going to do it much, much better. I just didn't. All right? No, there's no money in the bag. We want alumni to give us money, not the other way around. And we are not even asking for money for now. All right? Mr. Nkadime, thank you very much. A round of applause as they receive this. All right, I'll just follow your lead with Tumelo. I will announce the people as you. I don't think you should. Yeah. Their names. All right, there might be names where you have to change because other people were replaced by. Some people were replaced, like one that is Ernest, you just hold on to it. One that says Tito Nkadime, you just hold on to it. All right. So we'll take a picture. They might just find that the name is not yours on the pad, but we'll sort that out. We'll sort it out in the mix. Okay, Vice Chancellor. The picture.
Thanks very much to our wonderful choir. I think we are nearing towards the end of our program. But before I invite Ms. Itumeleng Chidi to give us the vote of thanks, I would like to just make a few announcements. I've been asked to tell you that the students must remain in the hall just after the vote of thanks, and the guests with tags will follow Ms. Itumeleng Chidi as well as the staff. And without wasting any time, I would like to call Ms. Chidi to come and give us the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Program Director.
I'm also rising. That has already been established, but let me just acknowledge the chairman, Mr. Pandelani Nefolovodwe, as well as all council members that are present, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Limpopo, Professor Mkhalo, the DVCs, the executive deans, directors of school, HODs, staff, and all our distinguished guests and our beloved students. And like I said earlier on, all protocol observed. Mine is just a simple one, it's just to do a vote of thanks and to thank everybody that participated in this particular program. And I would like to first thank our program director, Dr. Meji Makhoba, for really driving this program with so much excellence, with so much diligence. Thank you very much, sir. I would also love to thank Dr. Samukesi Ngwenya for really outlining the purpose of the day and also just acknowledging the guests that were present in this particular distinguished event. Thank you very much, madam. We the purpose and we felt welcome. Our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Mkhalo, thank you so much as well. Somebody's playing with the mic. Thank you really for giving the state of Telflop address. I think we understand where we come from and we understand where we are currently. Thank you very much for outlining that. And to our facilitators for the panel discussions, thank you, Professor JJ Tabani, as well as Mr. Nwin Jogo, for really facilitating the panel discussions with so much excellence as well, with so much diligence. We highly appreciate you so much. And to our discussants, our panelists who also participated during the panel discussions, Mr. Pandelani Nefolovondo, the chairman of UL Council, we appreciate you so much. Thank you very much. May we please give him a round of applause. We'd also love to thank you, Mr. Kujo Mamabulo, the SRC president for 2023 and outgoing 2024. Thank you very much. May we please give him a round of applause. We also appreciate Ms. Sikedi Mabata, the first ever female SRC president, as well as Mr. John Lekhanyan, the Postgraduate Association representative, for also being part of the discussants. May we please show them some appreciation. On the panel discussion for the throw forward, getting alumni more engaged, thank you, Professor Lisiba Narafapa, the research professor from the Faculty of Humanities, for really participating. May we also just give him a round of applause. We also appreciate you, the Director for Marketing and Communications, Mr. Victor Khomeswana, for also participating in the panel discussions. May we also just show him some appreciation. Thank you as well, Prof. JJ Tabani, for participating in the panel discussion. We appreciate you a lot. May we also give him a round of applause. And lastly, we thank you, our distinguished guests, for really being a part of this occasion. We probably have catering and this food because of this esteemed guests. Let me just acknowledge them. Nefolovodwe, Mr. Nefolovodwe, Ms. Matsela Banzi, Advocate Bongo, Mr. Tibedi Kobaka, Mr. Kaburoni Sidibe, Mr. Ernest Koza, Mr. Musa Zuma, Kumojo Class, Ms. Matume, Mr. Colin Mahange, Dr. Maite Maibana, Mr. Ditoto Khole, Mr. Kumalo, Mr. Mapampa Lizwalo, Mr. Siroka, and as well as Mr. John Mamukere from the University of Johannesburg. Thank you very much for being our distinguished guest in this particular event. And lastly, to our beautiful students, thank you for participating in the questions and the comments, and to all the staff members and everybody else that participated in this particular program. If I did not mention you by name, but I want to believe that I thanked everyone else and our beautiful choir as well for mesmerizing mesmerizing us with those lovely sounds. Thank you so, so much. You are highly appreciated. The LOC for organizing this particular event, Ria Lebora, as well as the marketing and communications team, the technical team that is ensuring that we are live as well, and those who are watching online from home and in their respective offices. Thank you so much for participating. Program Director, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chidi. The program has officially ended, but I just have a small announcement or a reminder. Remember to go and view or watch our at 7 to 9 at the new cinema hall. Please do go and watch the movie. I think that's all.